Have you ever felt a connection with someone so intense, like so immediate, that it felt like the universe was literally winking at you?
Oh, that is such a universal human fantasy, isn't it?
Right. I mean, I want you, the listener, to really put yourself in this scenario for a second. You meet someone maybe under, I don't know, completely mundane circumstances.
Like at a coffee shop or a totally average holiday party.
Exactly. But the moment your eyes lock or the moment you start talking, there is this undeniable, like, cellular shock of recognition.
A total system override.
Yeah. It's as if you've known them your entire life, even though you literally just exchanged names. And suddenly you're seeing the numbers 11 on a clock every single time you glance at it.
The bizarre synchronicities start popping up everywhere.
Right, they're everywhere.
Yeah.
And naturally, your brain, which has been trained by, decades of movies and pop culture, immediately jumps to the fairy tale conclusion.
Because that's what we've been conditioned to do.
Exactly. You think, I found my person. This is it. The messy part of my life is over, and the romantic comedy ending begins right now.
It is arguably the ultimate human fantasy, the deep-seated idea that there is one singular person out there wandering the earth who will magically arrive.
Just swoop right in.
Right, swoop in, fit perfectly into your life, and make absolutely everything comfortable. But the material we are unpacking today takes that fantasy, holds it up to the light, and completely shatters it.
Shards everywhere.
Literally. If you are clinging to that rom-com expectation, the reality of these connections is going to be incredibly jarring.
That is the perfect warning label for today's deep dive, because we are exploring what our sources refer to as the 11-11 connection, or the twin flame journey.
And right out of the gate, we have to subvert those cozy expectations.
Yeah, if you are looking for a fluffy, easy romance, you are absolutely in the wrong place today. What we have in our source material is a remarkably raw, incredibly detailed, real-world case study.
It's a real-time, highly documented account.
Yes, of a specific man and a woman who are currently navigating the absolute chaos and, frankly, the profound beauty of their own 11-11 connection.
And I think what elevates this source material from just another, abstract spiritual theory to something highly valuable is its grounded reality.
It's not just woo-woo concepts.
No, not at all. We aren't just discussing abstract concepts of souls and energy. We are looking at their actual physical timeline.
We have access to the psychological mechanics of their periods of separation, right?
Exactly. Their specific astrological archetypes and even the exact word-for-word text messages they are exchanging during these really critical turning points.
It's fascinating. We're essentially extracting the roadmap they're actively creating as they live through it.
Which brings us to our mission for today.
Yes, our mission today is to decode that roadmap. We're going to explore the incredibly painful, but apparently completely necessary separation phase.
That phase is brutal, but vital.
So vital. We're going to figure out how setting boundaries that might look, well, incredibly harsh on paper, is actually the ultimate cure for toxic past relationships.
And we are setting this firmly in the context of the current year.
Right, because the astrologers and analysts in our sources are pointing to this specific year, 2026, as a massive collective turning point for these types of intense connections.
The energy of 2026, based on the texts, is moving sharply away from that old paradigm of romantic obsession.
Thank goodness.
Right. It's pulling us away from chasing a fairy tale outcome where two incomplete people sort of fuse together just to survive.
The old Jerry Maguire, you complete me trope.
Exactly that trope. Instead, 2026 is bringing a very stark, unapologetic, wake you up, bring you home energy.
Bring you home to yourselves, you mean?
Yes. The entire thesis here is about self-union first.
So let's start right there with demystifying what this 11-11 connection actually is. Because the source uses a brilliant phrase to categorize this dynamic. It says this connection is a mirror, not a pillow.
A mirror, not a pillow. That distinction is everything here.
Unpack that for us. What does the pillow represent?
Think about what a pillow fundamentally is. A pillow is rest. It's a soft place to land at the end of a brutal day.
It's safe.
Exactly. When we seek out traditional relationships, or what pop culture calls a soulmate, we are generally looking for a pillow.
Someone to just make things easier.
Right. A soulmate, according to the specific framework, is someone who brings balance, companionship, and peace. They soothe your nervous system.
But an 11-11 connection, a twin flame, that operates on a fundamentally different frequency, right?
Completely different. It is a mirror.
And a mirror has zero tact. Like it reflects everything without a filter.
It is entirely ruthless. I mean, yes, it reflects your highest light, your hidden gifts, your most profound potential.
Which feels amazing.
It does. But it also reflects every single unhealed wound.
Oh, wow.
It reflects every deep-seated fear of abandonment or engulfment. It shows you every toxic relationship pattern you have been successfully repressing or just running away from for years.
So comfort, as the text explicitly notes, allows you to hide.
Precisely. A pillow lets you go to sleep.
But a mirror.
A mirror forces you to open your eyes, stand naked in the fluorescent lighting, and look at exactly who you are.
Oh, that fluorescent lighting analogy is terrifying.
Right. That is exactly why the initial stages of these connections feel so incredibly triggering to people.
So the actual job description of the 11 connection is awakening, not ease.
Awakening, not ease.
It's like comparing a cozy, all-inclusive beach vacation where someone just hands you margaritas all day with a grueling psychological boot camp where you have to, like, carry a log up a muddy hill in the rain.
That is a very accurate comparison based on the source text.
Which forces me to ask the obvious question here.
Right.
Why on earth would anyone willingly sign up for a relationship that is explicitly designed to be uncomfortable?
It sounds wild, doesn't it?
It does. Why would you choose the storm when the peaceful soulmate pillow is an option?
Well, the harsh truth presented here is that human beings are fundamentally designed for evolution, but the human ego vastly prefers stagnation.
The ego just wants to be safe on the couch.
Exactly. The ego wants to be safe. But the source text explains that you actually cannot reunite with this mirror soul in harmony until you have reunited with your own higher self first.
Wow.
Comfort is a lovely state of being, but comfort is rarely a catalyst for profound, life-altering personal transformation.
Nothing grows in a comfort zone, as they say.
Right. The conflict, the friction, and the intense emotional reactions triggered by this person are entirely by design.
By design. That's heavy.
The connection is supposed to crack you open.
Crack you open. That's such a visceral, almost violent image for a romantic relationship.
But it's accurate to the experience described in the documentation. The text clarifies that seeing 11 repeatedly isn't, a cosmic pat on the back.
It's not a gold star.
No, it is the activation code.
The activation code for what?
It is the hallmark of this specific type of awakening. Seeing those numbers doesn't mean, congratulations, your perfect partner has arrived to make your life easy and pay half your rent.
Bummer.
Right. It means class is in session. You are embarking on a brutal journey of what the psychological community calls shadow work.
Okay, let's define shadow work real quick. For anyone who isn't, super deep into Jungian psychology, what does that actually mean in the practical context of dating someone?
Shadow work is basically the process of confronting the parts of yourself that you have actively rejected, denied, or just hidden away because they are ugly, shameful, or painful.
Like the jealousy.
The jealousy, the need for control, the deep-seated belief that you aren't worthy of love unless you are performing for it.
Ouch.
Yeah. When you enter an 11 connection, this person inadvertently acts as a massive spotlight on all of those shadows.
So if the relationship were comfortable from day one, you would never do that inner work.
Never. You would just use the other person as a drug to numb your own pain.
That is a total paradigm shift. You think you're just going on dates, but you're actually enrolling in a spiritual curriculum.
Exactly.
Now, to really understand how intimidating this theory is in practice, we need to look at the real people living it. Let's introduce the actual case study from our source material.
This brings us to the cosmic blueprint of this specific man and woman.
Yeah, the timing of their connection is heavily emphasized in the sources.
And the dates provided are not presented as mere coincidences either.
No, they are described as highly orchestrated soul gateways. Let's look at their timeline.
So last year, before they even fully realized the depth of the gravitational pull between them, they spent their birthdays together.
Which is sweet, but the source points out that spending birthdays together isn't just cute, it's an energetic activation.
Yes.
The text says you are in each other's solar return fields. For those who might not follow astrology, let's unpack what a soul return actually is.
A solar return is essentially your astrological birthday. It marks the exact moment the sun returns to the precise mathematical degree it was at when you were born.
So it's a reset.
Energetically, it is absolutely viewed as hitting the reset button on your personal new year. It's a highly sensitive, highly charged window of time where your personal energy field is essentially rebooting for the next 12 months.
So, if I'm understanding this correctly, by spending those specific, highly charged reset periods together, They were laying a profound subconscious foundation.
Long before the connection fully exploded.
Exactly. But the real turning point, the day the connection fully activated, was December 24th, 2024, Christmas Eve.
And the numerology provided in the source for this specific date, 24/12/2024, is heavily analyzed.
Oh yeah, let's break that down.
If we break down the numbers, 2 plus 4 equals 6.
Right.
In numerology, 6 represents love, harmony, and domestic balance.
Okay, that sounds nice.
But then the year itself, 2024, adds up to 8. 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 4.
And 8 is the heavy hitter.
It is. The number 8 represents infinity, power, and karmic completion.
Okay, hold on. I need to play devil's advocate here for a second.
Go for it.
Because how does a date on a standard Gregorian calendar actually dictate karmic completion? Like, are we saying the universe specifically scheduled this meeting like an executive assistant?
Right, like Google Calendar.
Exactly. Or are they just assigning heavy meaning to a coincidence in hindsight? Break down the mechanics of this portal for me.
It's a totally fair pushback. In the framework of this source text, it's not that the calendar controls the energy.
Okay.
It's that the calendar reflects the underlying energetic frequency. A portal, in this context, is a moment in time where the veil between the subconscious and the conscious is incredibly thin.
Oh, I see.
The numbers 6 and 8 colliding signify a timeline where lessons of power and karma, which is the 8, must be resolved through the lens of love and harmony, the 6.
That makes a lot more sense. And the fact that it happened on Christmas Eve adds like an incredible layer of symbolic weight.
It really does.
Because Christmas Eve is the ultimate threshold. It's the in-between space.
The anticipation.
Exactly, the anticipation in the dark before the birth of the light. It's not quite the main event, but it's this sacred, quiet, waiting period.
And that actually perfectly mirrors the connection itself.
Yeah, it's not a traditional defined relationship, but it's clearly not a casual friendship either. It exists in this sacred, transitional, in-between space.
Now, to understand why they are stuck in that in-between space, we really have to look at who these two individuals are fundamentally.
They're archetypes.
Right. The text provides their astrological profiles, which serve as deeply accurate psychological archetypes for their entire dynamic.
Let's start with the man.
The man was born on September 5th. He is a Virgo.
Okay, Earth Sun.
Virgo is an earth element ruled by the planet Mercury. It is the archetype of the healer, the one who serves, the one who analyzes absolutely every detail and desperately wants to perfect things.
The ultimate fixer.
Exactly.
But every archetype has a shadow side, right? Like a dark underbelly.
What? Absolutely. The shadow side of the Virgo archetype, as highlighted in the text, is the savior wound.
The savior wound.
This isn't just about being helpful. This is a subconscious, deeply ingrained belief that says, if I can just fix this broken person, if I can just sacrifice myself to help them enough, then I will finally be worthy of love.
Oh man, that is so common but so painful.
It is. And then we have the woman.
Right. The source clarifies that she is a Leo, born between July 23rd and August 22nd.
Fire sign.
Yes, Leo is a fire element ruled by the sun. It is the archetype of absolute sovereignty, radiance, and the highly individualized self.
The queen.
And her shadow side.
Yeah, what's her wound?
The unhealed Leo wound often revolves around a profound fear of losing oneself. It is the absolute terror of abandoning her own sovereignty just to be loved.
So being smothered.
Or, conversely, a crippling need for external validation to prove her worth because she doesn't actually believe her light is enough on its own.
Wow. I have to say, even if you are a total skeptic who thinks astrology is just absolute nonsense, which many people do.
Yeah, but you still have to admit the psychological polarity presented here is absolutely fascinating.
It's perfect.
You have the ultimate fixer, a man whose core trauma response is to serve, manage, and save, meeting the ultimate independent queen. A woman whose core trauma response is to build massive walls so she doesn't get consumed or controlled.
Whether you look at it through the esoteric lens of elemental astrology or pure clinical psychology, it is a recipe for an explosive collision of core wounds.
Total collision.
The text uses the elemental alchemy to explain why they are so drawn to each other despite the danger.
The earth and the fire.
Exactly. Think about earth and fire. Earth, the man holds space and provides boundaries for fire, the woman, so that her intensity doesn't just burn wildly and destroy everything in its path.
It grounds her.
Right. And conversely, fire warms the earth so it doesn't become rigid, cold, and barren.
So they are basically carrying opposite ends of the exact same medicine.
They are two halves of a psychological puzzle, uniquely designed to trigger the specific wounds the other desperately needs to heal.
But here is the catch.
There's always a catch.
Always. When a deeply entrenched fixer meets someone who absolutely refuses to be fixed, the dynamic cannot survive in its current toxic state. The friction is just way too high.
It forces a massive
And that
crisis.
crisis brings up what the source material calls the tragically past relationships.
Yes.
When these two finally met, the twin flame connection didn't just trigger the normal, awkwardness of a new relationship. It acted like a giant emotional dredging machine,
Pulling everything up from the bottom.
dragging up all the unhealed wounds from every other relationship they've ever had.
Because the mirror effect we discussed doesn't discriminate. It reflects the pain from past partners who betrayed them, parents who abandoned them, or situations that made them lose their sense of self.
Right. And for the man, his old pattern, his absolute default setting when stressed, was to play the savior.
Yes.
Let's actually pause and really dig into this because I think society has fundamentally confused us on this topic.
How?
Well, isn't wanting to save the person you love viewed as a universally good thing? I mean, we glorify this in every movie.
We really do.
Love the knight in shining armor. We love the guy who swoops in, pays the bills, fixes the car, and takes care of all the emotional heavy lifting. So how does being a savior become toxic? Walk me through the mechanics of how that is actually a trauma response.
It's a brilliant question because it is so counterintuitive to all of our cultural conditioning. The source unpacks this codependency very clearly. You have to look at the real motivation behind the action.
Okay, motivation.
A savior fundamentally needs someone to be broken in order to justify his role in the relationship.
Wow. Wait, really think about that.
Yeah, if his partner is completely whole, emotionally regulated, and sovereign, he has no job. He feels useless.
And therefore unlovable.
Exactly.
Oh, wow. So his entire sense of worth is dependent on her dysfunction.
Yes.
He actually needs her to be a mess so he can feel safe. That is dark.
It is dark. When the man operates in this savior mode, he is constantly leaking his own energy. He is pouring his life force into managing someone else's life.
Which feels noble on the surface.
But underneath, it is a covert form of control. He is managing her so she won't leave him.
Wow.
And what happens to the person being saved in this dynamic?
They shrink.
They are infantilized. They never learn their own strength. They become reliant on the rescue. It creates a parasitic trauma bond, not an equal partnership.
It's codependency, dressed up in a tuxedo of romantic devotion.
That is exactly what it is. And for the woman in our case study, her past taught her something very specific and very painful about these exact types of savior dynamics.
Right, because her past relationships taught her that labels equal ownership.
Yes.
To accept the title of someone's partner or girlfriend meant instantly abandoning herself. It meant the savior taking over her life, making her decisions, and her sovereignty basically disappearing entirely.
So imagine the scenario.
Yeah, she meets this man who is vibrating with this incredibly powerful Virgo savior energy. And her alarm bells are absolutely deafening.
Her soul recognizes the profound connection.
But her nervous system, her trauma, recognizes a massive threat to her independence.
It's a complete system clash.
The connection forces all of this decades-old conditioning right to the surface.
Yeah.
It's like putting a massive magnifying glass over their deepest, darkest insecurities.
Which leads to the inevitable consequence.
Gosh.
Yeah. When all of this trauma comes to the surface at once, the connection in its physical, everyday reality, what the texts call the 3D form, literally has to break apart to survive.
It just cannot sustain the crushing weight of all those unhealed wounds colliding simultaneously.
And that takes us right into the physical timeline of what actually happened between them.
Let's trace it. They met on Christmas Eve. They felt this incredible magnetic pull, and they actually moved in and lived together for a period of time.
A massive leap.
A huge leap. But then, exactly as the archetypes predict, the savior wound and the disrespect wounds flared up. The friction became unbearable.
And so he packed his bags and left.
He walked away because he felt he had to protect his peace, and because he felt she was constantly pushing back and treating him with disrespect.
In his logical 3D mind, because the physical relationship failed and they were no longer under the same roof, the soul contract was over.
Done. Dusted.
Exactly.
And our sources indicate that at the time this documentation was written, they had been in a no-contact window for 2 full months.
2 months of total silence.
Now, I really want to put the listener in those shoes.
It's agonizing.
Imagine you've met someone who literally turned your universe upside down, you moved in together, and now, nothing. For 60 days, your phone doesn't buzz.
Not a word.
Every morning you wake up and have to fight the agonizing urge to send a text. Most people just call that a harsh breakup.
Yeah, regular Tuesday breakup.
You pack your bags, you block their number on Instagram, and it's over. How on earth does the source material reframe a 2-month silent treatment as part of a divine plan?
This is where we have to fundamentally distinguish between a linear relationship and a spiral soul contract.
A spiral. Okay, explain how a spiral relationship works.
Think of a linear ego-based relationship exactly as you described it. You meet, you date, you encounter insurmountable problems, you break up, you heal, and you move on to a new person.
The straight line.
Yes, a soul contract, particularly an 11-11 connection, operates on a spiral.
Okay, so think of it like walking up a spiral staircase.
Exactly. You
Yeah.
meet on the ground floor. The connection activates your deepest wounds. The triggering becomes absolutely unbearable, so you separate.
A break.
But you don't separate to end the relationship.
Then why?
You separate to individuate,
Individuate meaning
meaning to become a whole, autonomous individual again, to untangle your energy from theirs. You separate to do the intense inner psychological work that you simply could not do while you were enmeshed and reacting to the other person.
Oh, I see.
Once that healing occurs, the spiral staircase brings you back around to the exact same geographical point, but you are now one floor higher.
You reconnect at a higher, healthier octave.
Yes. You see the same connection, but from an elevated perspective.
So the separation phase isn't a punishment.
Not
It's actually the laboratory where the real work happens.
exactly. The text is definitive on this point. If they had stubbornly stayed living together during that triggering phase, trying to force it to work, they would have destroyed each other.
They would have locked into a permanent, toxic trauma loop.
Right. He would keep trying to smother her with his savior complex, and she would keep lashing out and disrespecting him to maintain her independence.
So the silence isn't a failure.
In fact, the source describes those 2 months of silence as holy.
Holy silence.
It was a sacred incubation chamber where both of them were forced to look in the mirror completely alone.
That reframes the agonizing pain of breakups in such a wild, empowering way. It's an incubation period.
It gives purpose to the pain.
It really does. But as we see in the specific text messages provided in the case study, the silence didn't last forever.
No, it didn't.
The 2-month mark brought an exchange that completely shifted the dynamic. We have the actual texts from June 5th and 6th, and they are, honestly, a masterclass in shifting from a trauma response to an empowered state.
It's incredibly rare to get this kind of granular documentation. This exchange shows the exact moment the old cycle was broken.
Let's read the exact exchange translated from the sources.
Okay.
On June 5th, she texts him out of nowhere. Gracias por el dibujo. Thank you for the drawing.
Short, sweet.
Yeah. Then the next day, very early in the morning, she texts again. Gracias, buenas noches. Thank you, good night.
And he replies.
He replies, Cuídate mucho, cariño, y buenas noches, Frenis. Take good care of yourself, darling, and good night.
Okay, warm, affectionate.
Very. And then she replies with 2 messages. First, Tú también me preguntaron por ti, pero no les conozco. You too. They asked me about you, but I don't know them.
Okay.
And then comes the critical paradigm-shifting message. No es necesario, pero recuérdales que no soy tu pareja.
Translated into English, that is. It's not necessary, but remind them I am not your partner.
I am not your partner. I really want to dissect this, because to the average unhealed ego, that sentence sounds like a bucket of ice water.
Oh, totally.
Imagine you are the man in this scenario. You haven't spoken to the woman you have this intense quantum connection with for 2 months. You finally start chatting again. The ice is breaking. You send a beautiful piece of art you drew for her. You wish her a warm good night. You call her darling.
And her response is, remind people I am not your partner.
Ouch. How does he process that without feeling a massive, devastating sting of rejection?
It is entirely natural for the ego to flinch at that boundary. The ego feels rejected.
Big time.
But the expert analysis within the source text reframes her statement beautifully. It points out 2 massive shifts in her psychological behavior that prove she has been doing the work during the separation.
Okay, what's the first shift?
The first shift is what the text calls boundaries without drama.
Boundaries without drama.
Right.
It's because she didn't pick a fight.
Exactly. She didn't accuse him of anything. In the tragically past relationships, her old wounds would have dictated a highly reactive response.
Like what?
She might have clung to the title out of fear of losing him again, abandoning her sovereignty. Or, conversely, she might have started a massive argument, demanding to know who was asking about him, why they thought she was his partner, and basically turning it into a chaotic conflict.
Just burning it all down.
Yes. Instead, she is incredibly grounded. She is calmly, coolly stating her truth. She is refusing to be possessed by a label.
This is not a rejection of him as a soul.
No, it is
Yeah.
an assertion of her own sovereignty.
She is defining where she ends and he begins. That is powerful. And the second shift the text notes here is kindness without attachment.
Kindness without attachment. Look at the tone of the entire exchange. It is genuinely warm.
It is. She takes the time to thank him for the drawing. She wishes him a good night.
He calls her darling.
Right. But there is no desperate pull.
Exactly. There are no emotional hooks being thrown out to see if the other person will bite.
Neither of them is abandoning themselves to try and desperately hold on to the other person.
So by drawing that hard line in the sand and saying, I'm not your partner, she is actually protecting the fragile new dynamic they are building.
She knows that if she accepts that label right now, in this vulnerable state, they will slide right back down that spiral staircase into the old savior damsel trauma loop.
Exactly. Her boundary is, paradoxically, an act of profound protective love.
Wow. Setting a boundary is an act of love.
Yes, she is keeping the connection clean of toxicity.
And because she held that boundary so firmly, because she absolutely refused to be his project or be saved,
She forced the man into a profound personal transformation of his own.
think about the mechanics of the savior wound we talked about. You cannot play the savior if there is no one willing to play the victim.
Exactly. By stepping out of the victim role, she left him standing there, holding all this energy with nowhere to put it.
Which opens up a fascinating question. What happens to all that unspent savior energy he's been carrying around his whole life? He can't fix her anymore. Where does that psychological pressure go?
The documentation shows a fascinating pivot.
This is where we see what the man is actually doing during their physical separation. The text says he is traveling in the depth of himself.
Yes.
He is meticulously documenting their story. He is making art, that drawing she thanked him for. That's the art.
This is a crucial pivot in his psychological journey. The savior energy we discussed, that desperate, compulsive need to fix, manage, and rescue, is fundamentally a leaky energy.
A leaky energy.
Yes, when he was operating from that unhealed wound, his life force was constantly spilling outwards, bleeding into other people's problems. But because of her boundary, he was forced to stop chasing.
I was actually trying to visualize this while reading the source, and I came up with an analogy.
Let's hear it.
It's like he used to be an open fire hydrant. He was just spraying high-pressure emotional energy everywhere, flooding the streets, trying to fix every problem, every stray dog, and every person he encountered.
A perfect image.
But her text message, her saying, "I am not your partner, do not fix me," was like someone coming along with a heavy iron wrench and putting a cap on that hydrant.
That is a highly accurate visualization of the energetic shift.
Suddenly the water can't get out. He can't spray his fixing energy onto her anymore. So what happens?
The pressure builds.
The water pressure builds up massively inside the hydrant. It travels downward, deep into the plumbing, which the text calls traveling in the depth of himself.
Right.
And that immense pressure has to go somewhere, so it transforms. It alchemizes. It turns into this incredible, highly focused artistic power. He is literally transmuting his pain and his halted savior complex into creation.
The source material expands on this psychological alchemy through the concept of sacred energy exchange.
Unpack that for us.
This is vital for the listener to understand. He isn't making sad, codependent art to try and manipulate her into coming back.
Right, he's not sitting in his room writing a whiny breakup album to make her feel guilty.
No, not at all. He is making sovereign, powerful art because her boundary woke him up to his own potential.
That's beautiful.
The text explains that because he has finally stopped playing the savior and stopped leaking his personal power, his energy field, what esoteric traditions call the aura, has completely cleared.
His aura cleared.
It has become grounded, dense, and strong. The source even specifically notes a real-world consequence of this.
What's that?
Other people, especially women, are starting to feel his new centered aura.
Oh, wow.
They are instinctively drawn to the quiet, magnetic strength of a man who is no longer performing, no longer chasing, and no longer trying to fix them.
He is simply rooted in being.
Yes, he is finally holding his own force instead of spilling it everywhere.
But speaking of force, we have to address the elephant in the room here.
The physical tension?
Oh, yeah. Because while they are finding this incredible individual peace and creative power while physically apart, there is still an undeniably intense, crackling physical attraction brewing in the background.
Absolutely.
The man explicitly notes in the texts that he knows if they connect physically, it will be explosive. And the woman acknowledges she is feeling a force she has never ever felt before in her entire life.
And that unprecedented, terrifying force is exactly why she refers to this current space as transitional.
Right.
She recognizes the sheer magnitude of the energy running between them.
Okay, but I know what the listener is screaming right now.
What's up?
If they feel this massive physical tension, and they both openly acknowledge this quantum 1111 connection, and they're finally communicating kindly again without fighting, why not just go for it?
It's the logical next step in a normal relationship.
Right. Why stay in this agonizing, transitional, essentially friend-zoned space?
Yeah. Because to rush a physical merge right now would be catastrophic to their nervous systems. Let's build on your metaphors here.
Okay.
Think of this 1111 connection like hooking up your home directly to a high-voltage nuclear power plant.
Okay, I'm with you. That's a lot of juice.
A lot. If your internal wiring, meaning your nervous system, your self-worth, your psychological boundaries, your ability to self-soothe, is made of cheap, unhealed 15-amp cables, that massive surge of power is going to fry your circuits.
You will literally blow a fuse.
Yes. The container is not strong enough yet to hold the pure intensity of a physical twin flame union.
Ah.
If they were to merge physically right now from a place of lingering longing or physical craving or the ego's desire to just have and possess the other person, the intensity wouldn't be creative.
It would be purely destructive.
Destructive.
It would literally blow out all the new wiring they just installed during the 2 months of silence.
Precisely. The woman calling the space transitional is her deep-healed intuition speaking.
It's her higher self knowing that she needs to be fully, unshakably rooted in her own self-love and sovereignty before she can handle that voltage.
Exactly. If she crosses that line too soon, the sheer force of the connection will dissolve her new boundaries, and she will lose herself in his energy all over again.
She is protecting the temple until she is strong enough to handle the lightning.
That requires an almost superhuman amount of discipline.
It really does. So if the immediate goal isn't just to rush back into bed together and slap a label on it, what is the ultimate endgame here?
What is the cure for all this tension in history?
The source states the central thesis of the entire 1111 journey in one shockingly simple sentence. No more chasing. Just be yourself.
It sounds deceptively simple, right?
Yeah, like a cliche you'd read on a mindfulness greeting card.
But in this specific context, it is profound spiritual and psychological alchemy. The text explains that the chasing phase of any relationship is fueled entirely by pure anxiety.
Pure anxiety.
It is the wounded ego desperately trying to secure a specific outcome in order to feel safe.
And, as we noted earlier, staying in the pillar dynamic of comfort allows you to keep chasing.
Right.
If things are easy, you can just keep acting out your trauma responses, managing, fixing, clinging, without any real consequence.
But when you finally achieve the realization that you are already inherently whole, which is the ultimate grueling lesson of the separation phase, the mirror effect changes completely.
How does it change?
It no longer reflects your desperate need, your leaky energy, or your unhealed shadows. It begins to reflect your light.
Wow.
Inner union is achieved when you reach the profound psychological baseline of, I do not need you to complete me. I remember that I am already whole, and your presence simply reflects that existing wholeness back to me.
I want the listener to really internalize this, whether you believe in twin flames or not.
It applies to everyone.
It really does. Think about how completely exhausting it is in normal life to constantly twist yourself into knots to keep someone interested.
Oh, the mental gymnastics.
The agonizing over how long to wait before replying to a text message. The performing of a personality you think they want. The compromising of your own core values just so someone won't abandon you.
It's draining.
Imagine the profound cellular relief of just stopping,
Yes.
of dropping the act completely, of just existing in the flow.
Flow is the exact word the source uses, and it is defined mechanically as the absence of resistance.
Absence of resistance.
The man in our case study has reached a point of genuine spiritual mastery.
How so?
He has learned how to keep this woman entirely in his heart, honoring the profound love he has for her, without suffering over the fact that she isn't sleeping in his bed.
He isn't resisting the reality of her "I am not your partner" boundary
He is flowing with it.
because, as the text insists, in a true quantum connection, distance, time, and human labels do not matter. The energetic link is constant.
It exists entirely outside of linear time and physical
It's
space.
so hard for the human brain to grasp.
It is. But when you drop the ego's resistance to what the 3D reality looks like, the suffering ends. even if the depth of the connection remains incredibly intense.
Which is a beautiful, peaceful place to land for these two individuals. But this incredible journey of healing separately but together isn't just, a private phenomenon happening in a vacuum.
No, it has a much larger ripple effect.
The global ripple effect. We need to bring this narrative back to the present moment, to the context of the year 2026.
The sources heavily emphasize that astrologers, sociologists, and spiritual teachers view 2026 as a massive year of collective shifting for these exact types of connections.
So more people are going to experience this.
Yes, the paradigm is moving from private, codependent romantic obsession to a broader, more grounded self-union that actively impacts the collective consciousness.
But the text also highlights a very painful reality for people living through this dynamic right now.
The outside judgment.
Yeah, people on the outside, your friends, your family, society at large, they do not understand this dynamic at all.
Not even a little bit.
I mean, the man in our story is undoubtedly getting told by his friends, bro, if she's not your partner, why are you still hung up on her?
Just move on.
Exactly. If she told you, no soy tu pareja, why are you still making beautiful art about her? Have some self-respect and move on.
That outside judgment comes entirely from the old linear blueprint of relationships we discussed earlier.
The staircase instead of the spiral.
Right. Society measures the validity of love by tangible labels, cohabitation, shared bank accounts, and marriage certificates.
Checkboxes.
If you don't have those things, society tells you the love isn't real, or worse, that you are delusional.
I can't help but think about how incredibly isolating and lonely it must be for the listener who might be in a dynamic just like this.
It's profoundly isolating.
You have this profound, soul-shaking connection. You feel these invisible quantum threads binding you to someone across a city or across the world. But your best friend is sitting across from you at brunch, telling you to just download a dating app and get over it.
You are experiencing a reality that literally no one else around you can perceive.
It is a deeply lonely path.
But the source text offers a beautiful, purposeful explanation for this hardship.
What's the purpose?
It says that this awakening is happening to them and to people like them in 2026, so they can be a map for others.
A map.
This couple is living proof that you can have an undeniable soul bond. You can step away to do your own brutal inner healing. You can hold someone unconditionally in your heart without needing to possess them. And you can successfully refuse to repeat toxic pasts.
They are the prototype for a new way of loving.
That is exactly what they are.
Wow.
When someone else goes through this agonizing confusion in 2026, feeling like they are losing their mind over a connection they can't explain, they might stumble upon his art.
Or hear a story exactly like theirs.
And suddenly they will realize they aren't crazy.
The map has been drawn.
Exactly. This couple's journey proves that a quantum partnership between two sovereign, whole souls isn't a delusion. It is a very real, very difficult, and ultimately incredibly liberating reality.
Well, let's pull all these threads together. We have traversed a massive amount of psychological and spiritual terrain today.
We really have.
We started with the jarring realization of the mirror versus the pillow.
The understanding that true evolutionary soul connections are designed to break you open, not make you comfortable.
Right. We looked at the profound cosmic timing of Christmas Eve portals.
And the explosive, inevitable psychological collision of a Virgo carrying a massive savior complex and a Leo absolutely terrified of losing her sovereignty to a label.
We examined the mechanical necessity of the separation spiral, proving that a 2-month no-contact period isn't a failure or a traditional breakup.
It's a holy incubation chamber designed for individuation.
Yes. We dissected the immense transformative power of setting boundaries without drama, analyzing how calmly stating, "I am not your partner," can actually be an act of profound protective love that forces transmutation.
We saw how that firm boundary forced the man to finally cap his leaky fire hydrant energy,
Clearing his aura.
strengthening his personal magnetism, and funneling that immense pressure into incredible sovereign art.
And ultimately, we arrived at the core thesis of the entire journey.
Just be yourself.
Just be yourself. The ultimate cure for the tragically past relationships, the cure for the codependency, is dropping the anxiety of the chase.
Dropping the need to manage someone else.
And resting deeply in the flow of your own inherent wholeness.
Because a foundation of absolute self-love is the only thing strong enough to support a connection that operates outside the bounds of linear time, societal labels, and physical proximity.
Absolutely. So, to you, listening right now, Whether you believe you are currently in a twin flame dynamic, or whether you are simply a person desperately trying to break a lifelong cycle of toxic, codependent relationship patterns, the ultimate lesson extracted from this incredibly detailed case study remains exactly the same.
Self-love is the only way out.
You have to stop chasing the external fix.
You have to stop trying to be someone's savior to feel worthy.
You have to start being yourself fully and unapologetically.
And as you reflect on all of that, I want to leave you with one final, highly provocative thought drawn directly from the furthest implications of our source material.
Ooh, okay. We started this deep dive talking about the universe winking at you, about the expectation of finding that perfect, highly visible, neatly categorized relationship.
The tangible proof of love?
Right. But what if the reality of human connection is infinitely more expansive and mysterious than we have been conditioned to believe?
If a quantum connection truly exists outside of linear time and physical space,
Meaning, as the text insists, that she's always in his heart, regardless of the distance, the silence, or the lack of labels.
it forces us to ask a truly mind-bending question about our own lives.
Think about it. Is it possible that the most profound, life-altering relationship of your entire existence is happening right now, running entirely parallel to your everyday, mundane reality?
A connection that requires absolutely nothing from you in the physical world,
No texts, no dates, no performing.
except your own unwavering inner wholeness.
It is the paradigm-shifting concept to mull over as we move through 2026. Thank you for taking this deep dive with us today. Keep looking in the mirror and take care of yourself.